morning. This is your Abuela Tomasa here once more, una vez más aquí, en su programa When I Grew Up, I Want to Be. Cuando yo crezca quiero ser, y yo quiero ser muchas cosas, ¿no? Aunque esté grande, cuando crezca más, quiero ser. Todos pueden hacer más cosas. Así que el que les diga que no, que porque ya están muy rock and roll, you can still do things even when you're older. So, today, my friends, I have a special guest. Remember, I always say that it's good to speak two languages. Even when the people tell me, ay, Abuela Tomasa, you speak really bad English. Why you even try? Because I want to get better. Because I want to speak better one day. That's why I do it. So, the only way I can do it is practice. Practicar. Practice, practice. Even when people say, nah, you don't speak right, one day I will. So I have to keep doing it. And today I have a special person who is using that. He has that talent. He speaks two languages and he's using at work. That's why I always say, if you speak two languages or even more, you don't stop speaking two, try three, four, be multilingual. That will be great. And one day you're gonna be working maybe in the UM. No, UM no, en la universidad no, en las Naciones Unidas, that's what I try to say. So, today I want to welcome el señor Antonio Lagunes, who works for this big humongous hospital called Methodist Lagunes. Ese sí no me sale, pero lo digo de todas maneras, algún día lo diré bien. So, Antonio, buenos días. Welcome to When I Grew Up. How you doing, mijito?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you and to share some of my experience as a medical interpreter and working for Methodist Healthcare.
That's what I was going to ask you. El título, ¿cuál es tu título? What's the title? Medical
interpreter.
So let me tell you something. There's gonna be a lot of people who say I can do translation. It's not the same. Interpreter is one thing and translator is another thing. Big difference. It's not the same. Además, no, uno que traduce como con los médicos no puede traducir en la corte así. Que escuchemos. Mucha atención. Antonio, well, let's chat a little bit. How does the UN mean a medical, say again your position, medical
interpreter.
Okay.
So how did I end up being a medical interpreter? It is a profession that I don't really feel like I chose the profession. I more feel like the profession chose me.
Ooh.
And that was because I have always been very involved with the community. I've always, ever since I moved to the United States in 1998, I had to learn English myself. And I have taken pleasure in helping others communicate and overcome the challenges that I once had. And this is one of the reasons that I am so passionate about this, because there was a day when I did not speak English, and there was a day when I needed an interpreter. So I learned English, and I have worked many different jobs, and I have experienced a lot of different things. And I started doing some sort of community interpreting, and it was mainly for the church community that I was a part of when I used to live in Oklahoma. And some of the people there always needed help filling out forms for insurance, filling applications for work, for jobs, filling just different kinds of paperwork, going to a therapy, going to the doctor, and just all sorts of things. So when I moved to Memphis, I had a business idea that I wanted to roll out and be a part of a particular trade, and that didn't work out because the market was so different here. So I started working for a company that, because I was bilingual, I was not a trained interpreter, but I was fluent in both languages enough that they could use me. So that's how I acquire the experience that began to grow as a medical interpreter, because with this company, I began to work in the community. And then I realized, you know what, I need to go to school for this. And I did. And I went and took a course at the
I want to
university.
stop you right there because many people are going to say, well, I speak the 2 languages. I can do it. I can translate for the doctor. I do that when I take my abuelita. Well, they did it before I speak. But how is that you have to go to school to be a medical interpreter? How many years or how you do this? Because it's a big difference just to translate a couple of words and be specific. How many years you have to be in the school to be a medical translator?
Thank you for asking that question. That is probably one of the biggest misconceptions of the profession. When people think I'm bilingual, therefore I can interpret. And you may be able to interpret for a lot of things, but the job of a professional trained interpreter cannot be done by someone who is just bilingual. Bilingualism, however, is the first step to become an interpreter. And there are certain steps to take, such as education, to become an interpreter. And it's not difficult. Don't anyone who is listening to this, it's not hard to become an interpreter. However, it's not okay to limit yourself by just being bilingual. So when I went to school, there is a course actually that is offered by the University of Memphis, which is a 40-hour course that is a prerequisite for a national certification. Prerequisite, they basically teach you the things that a medical interpreter needs to do, such as the code of ethics, the rules that interpreters must go by, such as keeping the privacy of the patients, such as being transparent, advocating for the patient when needed, and all of these things that are tools provided for professional interpreters that someone who may just be bilingual, they may just not know those things because they have not been trained. And one of the biggest things that we use as medical interpreters is being a cultural broker.
So you break the culture? Now like that?
Pretty much is what we do when we have people, for example, who come from various different cultures, and all that we have a large Spanish-speaking number of countries that come to the U.S. And when we interpret for these patients, I had one of my colleagues that at one point had to interpret for someone who said, "Tiene mal de ojo."
Sí, entiendo eso. Una vez me dijo mi comadre, dice, I had pain en la rabadilla. Tengo pain en la rabadilla. ¿Cómo le digo al doctor el pain en la rabadilla? No hay manera, no hay manera.
Yes, so these are a lot of different challenges where sometimes we have to stop and intervene as the interpreter and explain to the doctor or the provider, whoever it may be, what the cultural equivalence is. And not to minimize that, because if that's important to the patient, then the provider must know that this is something that is very important, and the conversation continues. And it also works the other way. For example, when we have a nurse practitioner, which is someone who a lot of times does the work of a doctor. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of Latin American countries, people want to be seen by the doctor, not by a nurse practitioner. Yeah. So then we also have to reverse that and explain to the patient that a nurse practitioner has a very important role that is more than just a nurse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes mis comadres no entienden el concepto tampoco de nurse practitioner. El doctor, el señor doctor, pero bueno. Thank you so much for make that acclaration, por aclarar ese punto. Okay, you talk about the breaking the culture, and that is great because some things that we say in Mexico, people from Puerto Rico, people from El Salvador say it in different way. Where are you from?
I am from Mexico.
Oh, okay, entonces sí entiendes algunas cosas. Oh, perfecto. But when you have to have somebody from Guatemala, they have another way to say things. Chan, chan, chan. Ah, they have to be careful. And something that you say, I think is important. You talk about privacy. Why? That means you don't go with your wife and tell everything that's going on in your day with the patient? Hmm? Oh?
Correct. There are a lot of phases to privacy. So one of the things is, of course, you keep the encounters with each patient private because that's our HIPAA rules that we must follow. But also in Latin America and probably other countries of the world, it's a more community type of care for a patient. So sometimes when we come to the US, which is a very individualistic culture, we want the patient to know what is wrong with them so that they can make a decision based on the knowledge provided. A lot of times we have patients that, if it's, for example, an elderly patient, then the daughter, son, grandkids, sometimes they think, because this is very common, tell me what is wrong with them, but don't tell them, because then if they know they're very sick, they may die sooner.
Ah,
So,
no, I don't. I prefer to know soon so I can take care of myself. No, 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 no. Okay, well, I understand, Antonio. I know that.
so, and there is a lot of people like you, but I think there is also a lot of the mindset that wants to protect. I think most of the times it's done in good faith, but because of our privacy laws and our HIPAA laws and the requirement of the patient having their own autonomy where they have to make their own decision, we have to explain to the people, whoever is asking not to share the information, that this is something that we must do.
Okay. Tell me something. What is the best thing in your job? What is the thing that you say, ah, this is why I'm doing this. This is what makes me happy. This is the reason why I keep doing this. What it would be?
That will be very difficult to narrow down to just one thing, but I am passionate about helping people. And sometimes in some of the most difficult situations, it is very rewarding to have a patient let me know that they're very happy that I am there with them, even if they are receiving bad news such as terminal illness, dealing with a bad cancer, dealing with the loss of someone who was very dear to them. And the fact that they feel that they have someone there with them that they can relate to and that they are not alone, I think that that is very rewarding. And that's just one of the things. Of course, then there is also the days when we have to give the good news that the cancer is gone, and when someone made it through a very major surgery, and there is happiness and there is joy. But even when there isn't a good outcome, it is very rewarding to know that you're there for somebody. I want to mention one case. There was one time when there was a patient that didn't have a lot of family, and every time that he saw me, it just brought a smile to his face, because I would do my rounds in the hospital and I would just go check on that one patient, and it meant a lot to him, and it meant a lot to me.
That is good. I think you have to do a job that make you happy and it make you feel good all the time. Okay, if somebody wants to follow your steps, if somebody wants to be a medical interpreter, ¿qué sería el consejo? What would be one of your advice that you will give to this person? Because we have a lot of little kids and young ones who are watching the program. So what it would be good for them to do in order to be a medical interpreter?
Well, first of all, let me explain that interpreting is probably one of the oldest professions of the world, although it has not been on the spotlight. But interpreting is needed in every circle of the world because of the barrier of communication. So that is very important. However, there are circles where it's not looked at as a very important profession until you really need one, and then you realize that it is a vital profession. So I would tell someone that wants to or is considering this profession to investigate what type of interpreter they are interested in being. There are different kinds, as you mentioned at the beginning of the interview. There is medical interpretation, which is what I do now. There is also legal interpretation, which is what happens at court. And of course, there is immigration interpretation, which is some sort between legal and there's sometimes medical because of what is involved there. Um, there is community interpretation, which is just the various needs for the community. And that's one of the sectors of interpreting that is coming, it's growing. And there is conference interpretation, which is what happens at the UN and Geneva Convention, where it's a very interesting and it's one of the goals of my life to at least go and listen to some of the very, very, very good interpreters at one of those places. But I would tell someone that's interested in this profession that this is a very rewarding profession and you must be passionate. You must be passionate about people. You must be passionate about language. I learn something new that has to do with language every day. And I don't go through life and just forget about my profession. Sometimes I read science, titles, songs, uh, and things that I hear, and automatically my brain goes, how would I say that? Because I have to be prepared. If that comes up in a session, I need to know how to say it. So another aspect of that must be considered before entering this profession is that you have to be compassionate towards the needs of people. Medical interpretation is great. You do have to learn a lot of vocabulary, but just like every other profession, you don't know everything. So one of the main things is you need to learn when you don't know something and ask questions. To me, that's one of the signs of being professional. When you don't know, say, doctor, the interpreter needs clarification and not just run through because you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. Because at
Like
the
I'm
end,
lost. Like,
you could hurt somebody. And the other aspect of that same line there is when people are coming to the hospital, sometimes they may not be coming in the best disposition and they may be
who
hurting.
will be happy to be in the hospital for only mommies who's gonna have babies? We are the only ones who get happy because we're gonna have the baby soon. But everybody else, I don't think people get really, really excited to go to the hospital to get the tonsils out or to get the a big check for a kidney stone or something. I think that is common. Okay, we have a little time. Before we go, I had one question for you. I know you talk about the being interpreter, you have to go to school, but you have another profession before you decide to change. This is something that happen a lot of people that I've been interviewed. Sometimes they go this way in their life and then something poof made them change their way and then end being something else. Like right now that you are a medical interpreter. Did you decide to study that from the beginning, or do you have another career in your background? Did you study something else before?
So when I went to school to take this profession more serious and to do it at a professional level and start working for the hospital, I had done, before then, I had done several different jobs and I'm very involved with my church community and I am very involved with missions trips. So I like to go other places of the world and learn about culture and what they do, how they do things. And I always found myself interpreting for either the group I was with for the people that needed help with the church community. I interpret church services. So, like I said, I don't feel like I chose this. I feel like this chose me, and this is my element. This is where I am happy, and this is what I'm good at. So why not do it?
You feel like a fish in the water.
Exactly.
Eso es bueno. That is good. Okay, Antonio, thank you so much for your time. You know, you're busy, everybody's working, and that is good. You guys are essential workers. Thank you so much for the work you do. And I mean, everybody there in the hospitals and the doctor office, everybody's essential because without you, I don't know where we will be. So, gracias, gracias. Thank you so much. One last word that you want to give, one last advice that you want to give to our little ones who might think, mi mamá siempre me dice que habla español. Maybe one day I can do this.
So one piece of advice is follow your dreams. Don't be afraid or embarrassed of your roots. Be proud of who you are. Be thankful of who you are. We are not only bilingual, we are bicultural. We can exist and survive in more than one world, in more than one culture, and that is to be praised. That is to be proud of, and just remember that your world vision is wider when you learn more of your own culture and more of the culture of others. Visit countries, travel, go see how other people live, and then you realize how blessed you are. I have to give you this quote. I love to travel, been to 11 countries myself. And one time I read this little quote, and it gave me perspective of me and about my surroundings. And it's from Gustav Flaubert. He said, travel makes one modest. You see what a tiny place you occupy in the world. When you travel, you see everything that you know right now becomes so much smaller when you realize that there are other countries that you don't even know what the name of the country is, and other languages that you don't even know what the language is called. We really are only occupying a small place. Get you some more experiences outside of your bubble, and put to work the skills that you have, and go somewhere where they value your skills.
That is great. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you. Well, I want to travel, but right now, please don't try it because we're still kind of in a pandemic mode. So please, not right now. Wait a little bit. Wait a little bit. Antonio, thank you so much for being here with the Abuela Tomasa. We hope to have you later on in another time. Gracias mil. Niños, remember, Abuela Tomasa, and when I grew up, I want to be is back. So don't miss it en Facebook Live with Casa Teatro, y síganos en Instagram y también en YouTube, o sea, YouTube. Thank you very much and see you next time. Gracias y adiós.